Hello, MSOE fans, and welcome to the Raider Report, where we sit down with MSOE coaches to discuss all things Raider athletics, from game reactions to recruiting news and everything in between. The Raider Report has all the behind the scenes details and news you want. This week, our guest is Bill Massoels, the athletic director here at MSOE, as well as the head coach of the men's and women's cross country and track and field teams. At this time, I am joined by our newly minted athletic director and the head coach of cross country and track and field teams, Bill Massoels. Bill, how you doing?
Good, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. So, Coach, welcome to the program. It's usually the standard first question, and I know you have a bit of a fun story. Well, fun for me to listen to, not fun for you to experience in real time. How did you end up at MSOE?
So I was at Cardinal Stritch. St. Joe's had closed, so I felt like I was on a book tour because you have to interview because you need a job. So I ended up at Stritch, and we rented the indoor facility here. And so it's like late July, and my wife emails me and goes, "Hey, MSOE's men's track job is open." Yeah, it's D3. I came from D2 and NAI. We had scholarship, and I say, I'm not interested. They don't give scholarships, so whatever. I get home that night and having dinner with my wife. She goes, "Oh, by the way, you applied for the MSOE men's track job today." Oh, interesting. And I'm so thankful she did because it's a great place. And then the normal, Brian reached out to me and, "Hey, are you interested?" So on and so forth. And I'm fortunate to be here and hopefully doing some good things.
So you were just named athletic director full time. Tell me a little bit about why you became an AD and why you pursued that.
So I became an AD. I got in administration in 94, 95. And I really did that because I didn't know if I'd have the passion to recruit at the age I'm at now. When you get to be about 55, you're going, okay, can you still do the grind of the recruiting? Because that's the staple of your program. If you don't recruit, you're not very good. And I went, well, I don't want to get a real job, so I want to stay in athletics. So if I can't handle the grind, what am I going to do? So I got into compliance at St. Joe's and then just kind of moved up the ladder. I became the AD at St. Joe's in October of 99. That we hired an AD at the time at St. Joe's. It was our first full-time AD ever in school history. And Marty was there for 14 months. So it's October of 99, comes into my office, goes, "Hey, let's go take a walk. I'm going back to my alma mater. I'm going to recommend you be the AD." And I really thought it would be a 3 to 5 year gig, kind of stabilize the program. I started in 90. This is now 99. We had 8 ADs in those 9 years. And when I first started, my first opening that I had, we had like 6 applicants. And a year later, over 100. And people don't want to apply if they don't know who the AD is going to be. So that's how I got into being an AD, and why I did it. And my passion is coaching. That's what I love to do. But I feel like I do a pretty good job of leading a department. So
let's jump. Speaking of leadership, you're a leader on campus, not only to your specific athletes, but you're a leader to all the athletes on campus and even the coaches of those teams. Talk to me about leadership. Is that something that comes naturally to you? Is it something you have to actively think about and practice, if you will? What's your approach?
Yeah, I think leadership, and I've talked to athletes for 30 years about this. I think leaders are born, they're not made. I think it's an instinctive thing that you just do it. And so I don't think about it. It's just, I think you're born into that. I don't think you can be taught to be a leader. I think you can do some things to enhance your leadership, but leaders are born. It's just a natural thing. Like I'm taking the bulls by the horn and moving on. So I don't actively think about it. I think it's people want to follow leaders. And I think of Nick Saban, who recently retired. Like what a great leader. Men and women gravitate to him because those people feel he has an answer to their questions. So yeah, I don't think about it. I think, again, leaders, in my opinion, are born.
You were a two-time captain of your college teams. Why do you think you were voted captain? It's special to be voted captain more than once on any team, whether it's basketball, track, football. It's special to be a captain multiple times. When you step back now, why do you think your teammates recognized you?
You know, very similar to when I started coaching at St. Joe's. When I got here, the program was in a disarray. We weren't really good at St. Joe's. You know, when I got there, and myself and a couple other buddies, one of them is the police chief of Mississippi State University, and so he's 2 years older than me, and I'm a freshman. I go, I don't like losing, and how do we change this composure, this system to start winning? And it's a little easier in my sport. You just put work in. You know, like I tell our team all the time, if I played one-on-one against Larry Bird, I wouldn't score a point. But if you run against a great runner, he's not holding, or she's not holding you back. I mean, Bob Kennedy, the first non-African to break 13 minutes for the 5K, was a freshman at IU my senior year. Wow. And this freshman's not going to beat me, and I'm going to go in. And well, I'll tell you, Bob Kennedy not only beat me, he was cooled down, showered, had a beer and 2 hot dogs, and I'm still out running the 8K. But he didn't stop me from being great. It was just hard work. So I think that my teammates saw that I was putting the work in. Again, they were willing to follow me, and we changed. I mean, we went from, you know, being really bad to, you know, our sophomore year, we finished third in our conference and just missed getting out to nationals. That was before they had at-large bids, and it was one to the region. But so I think that's why they voted me that, because he kind of has some answers.
And since you've arrived on campus, your teams that you've coached have seen quite a bit of success. You talk about putting in the work. What is putting in the work here? What does that encompass if you're a track athlete?
Well, you have to make big sacrifices. And the big question I get from all the recruits here is, how do you, at a high-end academic institution, how can you be great in sport? And my first team meeting with my guys in 2019, I told them we're going to start winning conference championships right away. And Noah Wake, who also coached for me and has become a really good friend, looked to me and said, "Coach, we scored 50 points last year at outdoor conference." I said, "That's unacceptable." And I said, in 6 or 7 years, we're going to start competing for national titles. And they really thought I was nuts. So the guys at that point told me that day, you know, you can't win in a high-end academic school. I said, "Oh, really?" So this is 2019. At that point, Stanford had won a national championship in something for 46 consecutive years and have done so since. They've won some. So I come back and look at my guys and go, "Can any guys get into Stanford?" No. They seem to win, and they're pretty smart. So, you know, that's step one. You have the time management skills. You know, when I first got here, because our distance team goes a secondary run at 6:30. And when I first got here, guys are texting me, it's 2:30 in the morning. I'm finishing up. I won't make it to morning practice. Well, that's a non-negotiable for me. AM runs for our distance team is a non-negotiable. We are going to put the miles in. And so I just looked at him and said, evidently you don't have the time management skills to be a college athlete. And that's okay. Not everybody can do that. You know, you played college football. You know what that's like, you know, watching film at 6 o'clock in the morning. And you're watching the same clip over and over and over, and you're going, "Yeah, coach, I know how the defensive lineman's going to swim over me. I got that block pattern." So that they have to be willing to put that work in. You know, we're fortunate to be able to practice at the same time. That might mean 4 or 5 different practices for us because of their class schedule. And some guys, you know, like today, we have 3 guys that won't be at practice at 4 because they have class at 5. Mm-hmm. So if this were a heavy track day, you know, a hard workout for the distance team, we go at 2, another one at 3, one at 4, and one at 5, just because of their class schedules.
Right.
So they just have to be committed to the success of our program.
Right. In my research, a name that came up as a leader of this squad, not a distance guy, a sprinter, Evan Plockelman, if I'm saying that properly, what does he bring to your squad?
Well, one, he's good. So I
that
think
helps.
that, oh man, he's running fast. So that's step one. But it's been fun to see Evan grow. He wasn't even certain he wanted to run in college. It was, like I'm talking to him, hey, let's give it a try. And then he runs his freshman year. He was solid. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of the year, after our end of the year reviews, I go, you have the ability to be great if you want to. And he goes, yes, I want to be great. And so then he just transformed his sophomore year, like, I'm putting the work in. And now he's an upperclassman, so he's a voice in the locker room. He talks to the younger guys and go see coach about this, or, we need to do this. And so just seeing, it's been great in 34 years to see those young kids who wouldn't say poop if they had a mouthful, to grow to become a leader as a junior and a senior because they saw what their upperclassmen did for them. Yeah. So he is not a vocal leader. He's that guy that leads by example.
Sure.
He's not going to give the rah-rah speech. He's not going to be the Bobby Knight at halftime in the locker room kind of guy. That's not Evan. He just leads by example. And he'll quietly talk to the younger guys about what they need to do. But if I need someone to give a win-win for the Gipper speech, it's not Evan. That's not his strength. It's not what he likes doing. And so that's why you have different leaders.
Yeah, and it takes a level of self-awareness to know where you fall in the food chain and when to pick your spots, especially as a leader like that, when you're not the most vocal.
Yep.
And talk about a guy who, not just buying into the program, you have to buy into yourself. You have to believe in yourself to accomplish what you want to accomplish. Yep. Talk to me about the culture and energy of this team as a whole. I passed through the third floor of the Kern a lot here. I see the mayhem that's ensuing with you guys. Tell me about this group.
Yeah, the mayhem. That's a good word. It's a family. That has always been something that since I started coaching, track is an individual sport. And a lot of track programs, they don't see each other until meet day. The throwers may go out and practice at 2 p.m, and the distance teams at 4, and the sprinters are at 1, and they don't see each other. And I didn't want that. Initially, I didn't want that because when you could put on your resume that you're a college athlete, that inevitably comes up in your interviews. Talk to me about your time management skills. Talk to me, how did you manage being at any university? I mean, whether it's a liberal arts school, an engineering school, how did you work that out? And then talk to me about how you worked with different groups, like people not of the same mindset of you. And track is different. I will, if we're practicing on a Saturday because we don't have a meet, we have a couple guys that are going to run 16 miles. And I say that and the throwers go, oh my goodness. And then those same distance kids come in and they see those throwers squatting. Go, oh my gosh, that's three of me. So there are different groups, like the throwers hang out with the throwers, the distance teams hang out with the sprinters and hurdle. But they're a family, and that's by design. So that resume question, talk to me about working with different groups that maybe aren't like-minded like you, so our athletes can answer that. And then purely from a track standpoint, it hurts. Our 3,000 guys really got after it at our meet the other day. And, we talk about getting uncomfortable. You have to become uncomfortable. And that, when it's a family atmosphere and you're hurting, I can't let my brothers and sisters down. So I'm going to keep pushing. So it is definitely, the culture is definitely family. I mean, that locker room is pretty important to us. If there's someone in the locker room that's not doing what we need them to be doing, our leaders will handle it. And if they can't, they come to me, and then, that's, you got to get rid of the one bad apple in the barrel kind of thing.
Right. So, and family is a buzzword that's used a lot, and people throw it out there, we're a family. But you talk about that and, bringing the different groups and seeing the work that each other's putting in. You say that you hear the throwers hearing about the distance run a 16 mile. Oh, that's a lot. And then the runners hearing about the squatters, and you put it into perspective that we're all doing work. It's different, but we're all putting in work for the same goal. I know when I first got to Winona State, it was very defensive locker room, offensive locker room, and a lot of clashing, especially at practices. And until that bridge, we bridge that gap where, hey, you guys just operate a little differently. We operate a little differently. We're all in this together. That's when we went to the playoffs. That's when things really started to happen for us. Tell me a little bit about your training philosophy. I know in talking with our other SID, Seth, he has mentioned you have a little bit of an unusual habit or practice of taking the week off before big meets like conference. Explain that to me.
Yeah, I don't know if it's taking the week off.
Yes, okay. Not competing.
Yeah, so exercise physiologists will tell you, if one, it's a peak, and it's anywhere from an 11 to 13 week cycle, and there's a couple loads and then a deload and then a couple load weeks and then a deload week. And if you're doing it following the science on the track, if you PR the week before conference, it's highly improbable that you're going to PR the next week as a runner, whether it's a sprinter, hurdler, or distance person. So I took that and went, okay, well, if I'm peaking at the right time and we pop that big one the week before conference, we're not going to do it at conference. So that didn't make any sense to me.
Right.
And then purely from an exercise physiological standpoint, I like to use that week, and that is not a deload week. That is a heavy load week for us. So we'll load up, and that's why I'm saying, we don't take the week off. We just don't compete. And that's following the science. And I tell my recruits a lot of things before they get here. And some of them I'm not proud of. Like, I swear more than I care to admit to.
Sure.
And that's I don't have a lot of patience. And then I also tell them, if you find a coach who can fool science, go compete for him or her, because I'm not smart enough to fool science. So I just follow the science. I don't know why other coaches don't do that. I've been doing it for 34 years now, and it seems to work.
Yeah.
And Seth, when he first got here, went, we never we always competed the week before. Yeah, I don't. And I explained to him, yeah, and so that's why we don't race the week before. Now, sometimes we change that. I feel our distance crew and some of our sprinters can make it to nationals. So outdoor, we may run the week before conference to get a national qualifying mark. And if we can still get the points we can out of those men and women at conference, we would. But I've maybe done that 4 times in 34 years. I just can't get my head around fooling science. So
sure, yeah.
So we like I said, we've done it maybe 3 or 4 times in 34 years.
That's interesting. So let's get into coaching. When you're dealing with different athletes, do you feel like you will change hats and approach athletes different ways, or is it kind of, I am me, the athlete has to figure out how they're going to respond? So for example, how would your approach change between experience levels? Like you have a guy like Colby Branch. He's known you for a little bit. He's been in the program. And then I just picked a freshman, Sam McPeak, new to the program. How does your approach change with guys like that?
Well, one, you're right. Sam doesn't know me. And when he first got here, it was yes, sir, or no, sir. Dude,
calm down.
My dad has passed away a few years ago. No need to sir me. So it's their personalities. One, when they're freshmen, they're, for whatever reason, they're terrified of me. And I don't know why. I'm 5'8", 140 pounds. And so that's that growing. And I stole this from Mick Byrne, the cross country and track coach at Wisconsin. It's experience. It's not experience at nationals. It's not experience in regionals. It's experience within the system of the program. So the returning kids know what we're doing every day.
Yeah.
Like Tuesday for the distance team is a track day. Wednesday for the sprints and hurdles is a track day. And they now what we're doing, the pace, and so it's the Darius Rucker song. When was the last time you did something for the first time? And at freshman, every day you're doing something brand new and you don't know. So that's that experience within the system. Mm-hmm. But I treat everybody differently in that what works for them. Mm-hmm. And a good friend of mine who was my throws coach at St. Joe's, that was a multiple national qualifier for me. He comes in his junior year, he comes into my office. He goes, "Why are you always yelling at me?" I said, because AT can't handle it and you can. And he looked at me and said, okay, and he left. And he knew what I mean.
Yeah.
Not everybody can handle getting yelled at.
Yeah.
And you said the mayhem. I'm a vocal coach. You know, when people come into my practice, I go, I've never seen a track coach like that. I don't know if that's good, bad, or indifferent, but you're probably right. When I first started coaching, it was still the mindset of how I grew up. Your dad said to do something, you just did it. Now you have to explain why you're doing it. And so they need to know the why behind it. So I treat everybody differently because their personality, you know, what works for them.
Right.
You know, does getting their girl work for them? Does patting them on the back work for them? Now, I have no problem. You know, I told my team when we got back, you have to believe you're as great as I believe you are. Now, I'm an equal opportunity person in that if we're terrible, you're going to know it. You're never going to walk out of a team meeting going, I wonder what coach thought of that meet today. But never directed at an individual. It's, you get back to that family and that team. And, you know, Herb Brooks is a guy that I've watched and read about in Miracle and what he did with the 80 Olympic team, you know, make them hate him. That's a once in a lifetime. I don't think that works across the board. It's the adage of they don't care what you know until they know that you care. And that's something that Dr. Valley and I talk about, being present for our athletes, because then they know you care. When they could pop in, and you mentioned Colby Branch. She popped in Friday at like 2 minutes to 10, and we're going through the race plan, and he looks at his watch and goes, "You got class?" "Yeah, at 10. You need to get out of here, dude. Go talk after practice. So you need to be present for them, so they could get to know you.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned Sam McPeak. Now he and Jackson Braun. Now we all competed well, but you brought up Sam. He and Jackson Braun really got after it Saturday in the slow heat. And I think they could score a conference now, and just seeing his maturation, you know, and Jackson and a lot of our men and women. And now he's come out of a shell. Mm-hmm. You know, now, you know, I always look at them when they get older and go, remember when you wouldn't say anything? Can we go back to that? Because there's 93 of them and one of me. Yeah. And I have no problem razzing people. I think that's what makes the locker room the family. So if I'm going to razz them, I can't get mad at them for razzing me. And so they come at it.
The numbers aren't in your favor.
Yes. So that's how we work with that.
All right, Coach, we're going to break it up. Everyone's favorite segment, Raider Rapid Fire. Just want whatever comes to mind, right off the top of your head. You're walking into a stadium, what's the last song you want to hear playing?
The Bears fight song.
Okay, we'll get to that later. Dream car, real or fake?
Oh, real. Ferrari.
Ferrari? You got like an era or just?
Oh, yeah, Thomas Magnum's Ferrari back in the early 80s.
All right, for sure. Why the Green Bay Packers? Aren't you pretty close to Bear territory?
Okay,
I mean,
here you go.
Do some explaining.
So I grew up in Northwest Indiana.
Okay.
You know, a 15-minute drive to Comiskey Park. I don't know. I won't call it Guaranteed Field or whatever. I mean, we would go down to the Loop in the summer because it was. I mean, we were there for so many years. I thought I was an Illinois person, not an Indiana person, because everything literally half a mile from the Chicago border.
Right.
So my dad was a Chicago Cardinal fan, and he thought George Halas ran the Cardinals out of town. So then he said, who should I cheer for to upset George Halas? Like George Halas knows who Nick Massoels is, right? So he became a Packer fan.
And then
we grew up a Packer fan. Now, the crazy thing about all this is that Father Lefko was the priest that brought the Bears to St. Joseph's College from 44 to 75. Father Lefko, I learned when I was 7 what 3 fingers was. Father Lefko's at my house having spaghetti dinner, and I'm filling up his bourbon glass. 3 fingers, but I got 3. Fill it up 3 fingers. So Father Lefko did George Halas's funeral mass, and my dad was at George Halas's funeral mass because he got to know George Halas because of Father Lefko. So it's come full circle. I guess George Halas did know Nick Massoels, but that's why we're Packer fans.
And like Papa Bear passed away, and he couldn't give it up. Couldn't adopt the orange and navy.
You know, by that time we were locked into being Packer fans.
All right. To each their own.
I know.
I digress. All right. Your favorite gear brand? I don't know, back when you were competing or right now, what kind of shoes, what kind of gear are you going for? I know we're a Nike school, but what's your personal preference?
I've always been a Nike guy.
Okay.
Wore Pegasus, and then as I got a little older and needed a little bit more stable shoe, went to the Structure. Always been a Nike guy. Clothing, shoes.
Are you a flashy shoes guy? Will you get the bright neon fluorescent shoes?
No.
Okay, no high-vis shoes.
No.
All right, be careful when you're running in the dark. At least
Yeah.
for me. All right, this is a two-pronged question. Favorite wrestler, best wrestling theme song.
Stone Cold Steve Austin coming in with the glass plate. That's my ringtone on my cell phone is Stone Cold.
You can't beat that energy. I mean, you hear that and you just want to scream.
Yeah.
You just want to let loose. I've heard you're a big Western guy.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite Western movie or your favorite Western actor? You a Clint Eastwood guy? You a John Wayne guy?
Oh, John Wayne. And my son Patrick, that he loves movies. Like, he watches the Oscars. When he was in high school, they would put money in. This movie's going to win Best Actor. And so John Wayne's my favorite. Anytime a John Wayne movie's on, I text my son, greatest actor ever, and he just comes back with a ridiculous comment. So John Wayne, that's my guy, and Rio Labo or El Dorado, they're the same movie, just different actors. But those are my two.
For sure. Favorite athlete, either now or growing up.
Oh man, favorite athlete. I'm a big Larry Bird fan.
Okay. The French hick from South Lake.
Yep.
How can you beat that?
Yeah.
Or did I mess that up?
Yeah, the hick from French Lick.
Yeah. I botched it a little bit, but I digress. You're getting in the zone for a race or a meet, whatever it might be. What song are you putting on? Or artist, maybe?
So it's really weird. We talk about visualization. So we do a goal meeting 2 nights before, and I tell them when the head goes to the pillow, whether you're listening to music, quiet, whatever, and you're visualizing that. I would listen to Glenn Miller Big Band.
Okay.
And people, when I say that, like the look that you just gave me, like, really? But I'm a big Mellencamp fan.
Okay.
So for on meet day, now I don't listen to anything because I'm not competing.
Right.
But when I was competing, probably a Mellencamp song.
Okay.
But when my visualization was always to Glenn Miller.
Interesting. And then the most important one, I'm really hoping that you impress me with this because there have been some lackluster answers here. Not to knock any of my coworkers. You're going to the movies. I need a snack. I need a drink. I need a candy. I need a full order. What are you getting?
Oh, popcorn for sure. Ton of butter.
Okay.
Just keep pouring on to soak the top layer.
Okay. You're putting the straw down the middle. You've done that before?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And I'm bringing in a little Parmesan cheese to sprinkle on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Diet Coke or Dr. Pepper.
All right. Okay. You saved yourself.
It depends on what,
how many calories you had prior.
And Reese's Pieces.
Okay, nice.
That's
a good one.
Yeah.
An underappreciated candy.
Absolutely.
God, love Reese's Pieces. All right, we'll get back on track here. Let's talk about some more. Caitlin Rodman, a senior distance runner from Fort Mill, South Carolina, of all places. She's already broken 2 school records in the 3,000 meter and the 5,000 meter. She's a conference champion. How did she end up here? And what's next for her on and off the track?
So she ended up here. That was during COVID.
Okay.
So she enrolls in the fall of 20. So she never came for a visit because we when she found us, we were shut down.
Yeah.
So she kind of found us. Looked and wanted engineering, and so that's great recruiting story. She found us.
Wow.
And then I really think, she can make it to indoor and outdoor nationals. She qualified for U.S. junior triathlon team. So she competed in Germany this past summer. So I really see her more as a triathlete. We talk about training. She's a young lady that her long runs on Sunday, she doesn't run, she bikes because it works for her.
Sure.
Once a week, one of her her recovery runs is in the pool. And that's really because that's where she wants to do triathlon afterwards.
Sure.
And I said, as long as it doesn't hurt us racing, and it hasn't yet. So that's one kid that I've done that in 34 years. And my team physician at St. Joe's used to always say, you should cross train. And he'd get my grow about that. And I go, Doc, I'd been like 43 national championships or something like that. I said, I've never seen him roll out a treadmill or a elliptical or a bike at nationals. Now we cross train when we're injured, but you can't replicate running besides running. So for me to do that with Caitlin, I mean, it was a stretch for me to even think about it. But again, kids coming in to see you and talking to you, getting to know you, and me getting to know them, and this is going to work for her. And I'm not saying it would work for everybody, but it's working for her.
If you don't build that trust, you can't approach
that
topic.
That's where she's at, and I think she's going to be a really good triathlon post-collegiate.
That's awesome to hear. And speaking of breaking records, Jess Alderman added her name to the record books already as just a sophomore. Talk to me about what she's doing different as a sophomore to the point where she's already breaking school records.
Again, it's that experience within the system. Mm-hmm. So she now knows what we're talking about. Her throwing IQ raised last year into this year. By that, when we look and Coach Hoyne has done a great job as our throws coach, but every once in a while when I see her, hey, you got to catch it or see the release and it's clicking now. She's understanding that. And you talk about Jess. I mean that man, what a 20-pound weight throw. You know, Ava Larson breaks a school record on her second throw. Jess breaks that on her third throw. Ava breaks hers on her fourth throw. Jess does it on the fifth. I mean, it was back and forth. So we've broken that record 3 times this year. Katrina last week, Jess and Ava this week. So that's been pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's awesome to hear. I'd be doing myself a disservice if I didn't shout out an Illinois guy, though. Logan Marks had a big day at the Big Dog, no pun intended. What does it take to be a great pole vaulter skill-wise? I don't think a lot of casuals like myself know all the intricacies of pole vaulting. I know when I was in high school, they practiced swinging on a rope a lot. Talk to me about pole vaulting and talk to me about Logan specifically.
So pole vaulting, you got to be athletic as all get out. I mean, and so we, in our field house, we have a rope. We do that swinging. Coach O'Sullivan, again, does a great job with our vaulters. Graduated in 22, school record holder for us, indoor and outdoor. Just ordered some new straps to swing. So you got to be athletic. That's step one. You have to have speed, upper body strength, all those things. Logan came to us as a 12.6 pole vaulter. And if you would have told me when I'm recruiting him and his sister's school record holder here in the distance events that Logan's going to go after the school record, I probably would have said no way. But so you got to be athletic. It bodes well here because it's such a science, the physics piece of it. And also we're loading up on pole vaulters. We're gotten 3 commitments from pole vaulters for this 24 class already. And specific to Logan, I mean, he has just leaps and bounds, just missed the school record last outdoor at our last meet by half an inch. Just has really grown. Again, you talk about a leader, you talk about growth, you talk about now he's one of those leaders in the locker room with the younger guys. So he clears his height. He's the last guy in. And when that happens, you can decide what you're going to. There's usually a progression, either 0.15 centimeters, 0.3 centimeters. But when you're the last guy, you can decide what height you want to go to. Mm-hmm. So I just happened to be by Logan, watched the last guy go out and said, have you and Jack talked about what you're going to go to? Mm-hmm. No, I haven't. And it's funny, Jack gets up and he starts walking over because I know they're going to have a discussion. And so I go, all right, you guys got to figure it out. I'm leaving. I'm going to go coach these other people, but I'm coaching and watching. And man, he had 2 really good attempts at 15.3 and a half. And that's probably 15.3 to 15.5 is going to get you to nationals. Okay. And I really think Logan will get to nationals this year. He's committed to it. He loves it. Works his tail off. Again, Coach O'Sullivan does a great job with all of our vaulters. But it's been great to see Logan go from a 12-6 guy to, you said it, a big dog. And he's really gotten after it, and I'm really happy for him and excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, no, and it's awesome you guys are already having, such great individual success when the season is just kind of getting rolling. So hopefully you put it all together and you see those big team successes at the end of the year. I want to thank you for joining us today, Coach. I got one last question for you. What else is on the horizon for the Raiders in general, and how can people help support?
You wrote the release the other day. We want to win. We want to win on the field, on the court, on the track, and athletically, academically. You can't get much better than what we're doing academically. 99% placement rate for our kids, whether it's graduate school, service, or a job in their field of study. So we want to be the pinnacle of NCAA Division III, academically, athletically. One of our mission statements is inclusion and bring the community in. I think we've done a really nice job with that with the MLK Classic. Milwaukee Academy of Science has been here for a couple games. Their AD reached out. I think they're going to be the number 1 seed, and their gym seats like 4 people. And so when that happens, they can't play at home. So we're looking to see what we can do with them to get them back to Hotchkiss Arena for the playoff run, because they're on 20th Street, so it's a local game. So that we want to be a neighbor, and I've said that since we started bringing some schools in. If we're going to be a neighbor, we're going to be neighborly, and if we're not going to be a neighbor, then we can't ask for our neighbors to help us, and that's just not the vision of the university. That's not part of our strategic athletic plan. So we're going to be a neighbor. How people can help, and donations are great. Hey, I saw this kid, at my high school, he does this sport, wants to study engineering. So many times people think donations is money, and it's not all money. We'll take it, don't get me wrong, but it's all those little things like, hey, this kid I saw compete, I think he can help us win. You reach out to us, you call us, those are invaluable, because we can't see every kid everywhere. Which gets us back to, Hall of Fame. If you know someone from one of the teams in 1987 that you think should be in the Hall of Fame, send Greg, send Seth, send me, whomever, an email, and we'll look up the stats, get them in the Hall of Fame. So just bleeding red and white for us, and it's, my staff is made up, all of my assistant coaches are MSOE grads. And they're all engineers, but they love this place, and this is their way to give back. So any help we'll take.
Yeah, and building that sense of community, all the people who have walked through these halls, played a sport, put the time, the blood, the sweat, and tears, it's important to recognize that, and then also to, see the people who were in your shoes competing now, and then for the people who are in their shoes to see, the not ghosts of MSOE past come through, but to see people who are like, oh, they're at the top of their field professionally. That's what I want to be in 10, 15 years. So that's really awesome to hear. Thank you again for joining us, Coach, and congratulations on
Thanks, Greg.
being
Appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thanks to Bill for taking the time to join us, and thank you for listening. Coming up next on the Raider Report, we will have Sean Farrell, the head coach of men's lacrosse here at MSOE, to give us a little bit of a season preview. You can follow Raider Athletics on YouTube at MSOE Raider Athletics, and you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at MSOE_Raiders. Don't forget to find us on Spotify too. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow, repost, share, and get the word out to all your Raider friends and family. We want you to be heard. Mention us on social media and tell us what you want to hear about. Go Raiders!